morning to you. Thank you so very much for joining us here on Global Television. This is Global Morning. We're live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I'm Wiyag Mofwebe, and we are delighted to bring you one more anchor in the person of the world's critically acclaimed Jumai Rekia.
Really. Good morning to each and every one of you out there. It's great to be here and doing this side by side with Wiyag Mofwebe. How are you doing, Uyi?
I'm very well. I'm feeling like $1 million.
Me too. I don't know. I think it's there. I don't know. There's just something.
Right.
But all the same, it's a Thursday morning.
It is.
We're getting nearer to Friday.
The weekend, right?
The weekend.
Yeah.
I think that's
you might
awesome.
dance us a lot. By the way, let's not talk about that on the show this morning. Maybe you need to see her off the cams on a Friday, weekends generally. But we have to be grateful, really, even in the face of all these challenges that we're grappling with as a country. Because when it's all said and done, people back at home say, well, trouble not they finish, or problem not they finish.
Problem not they finish. Right. That's true.
There's always going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
But while we are working on solving those problems, we've got to also find some way to unwind and lean back a little.
Not just that, try to balance it all. I know that you're not the only one carrying a particular thing on your head. Take a breather.
Right.
Take a breather. There's always a solution to every problem. It might tarry, but there's always a solution.
Ultimately. There's always a solution. And speaking of solution, we understand that the federal government is now doubling down on the issue of insecurity. Yesterday, as part of our news broadcast here on Global Television, we did bring you a story about how that the leadership of the National Assembly has recalled members, particularly the Senate, to say, look, we ought to have a recess now. But then, again, my people say, when a tree falls on top of another, you've got to cut the one on top first.
Yes.
It's called priority. So I think that the leadership of the National Assembly said that, look, we have a problem on our hands and we have to reconvene to be able to address this problem. And quite frankly, I believe that you can't be dealing with national security challenge of this magnitude or proportion, and then you have a National Assembly that's busy taking a recess to do what really?
Exactly.
So I think that reconvening is very important. In fact, beyond important, it is very critical at this point in time. And we're also hearing that quite a number of terror suspects are being tried, a good number of them already convicted, and this process has to be transparent because for many Nigerians, the thoughts, in fact, in some cases, the belief is that nothing is done to them. So government now has to, beyond prosecuting them, take on that responsibility, which is statutory, by the way, of ensuring that members of the public, citizens, are aware of what is being done to ensure that everyone who has been fingered in what has now become a monster against the Nigerian states is brought under the full weight of the law.
Very important, and it's very important for closure, by the way. There are a lot of families have gone through the hands of these terrorists who have actually, caused havoc in their home, and then they feel, like you said, everyone has that notion that they'll get away with it after all. There are big weights behind them. Not exactly. So, but now I like the fact that there's now transparency and accountability, so we can all see where this is leading to. Once these individuals are caught or apprehended, there is a law, and the law must take its course. Very important. And I like the fact that it's open for everyone to see, and we can all monitor and see to the end, to what end this may bring. It's very, very important. Really looking at it for closure, basically, for individuals who have lost their fathers, husbands to the hands of these individuals. So it's very important. It's very important. I like the idea.
Well, elections in 2 states are just ahead of us. We have one in Osun, and that will be somewhere in August, I think August 15, thereabouts, right? Those elections will again be more like some litmus or exit test for the Independent National Electoral Commission, right, towards 2027. Hopefully, INEC is ready beyond what it tells the public, ready on the ground, in practical ways, because as it stands right now, there's so much of uncertainty as to whether or not elections will be free, fair, credible, and conducted in an atmosphere devoid of threat. Because, Jumai, evidently you don't want to have an environment where people are either not going to the polls at all for fear of being harmed or, as it were, attacked, or while they are there, they have their heart hanging in between their leaves because they're not sure what will happen. Because that's one of the things about these terror groups. They want to ensure that they cripple the states, including all of these mechanisms. And for a general election cycle, I mean, there's no bigger opportunity to show themselves.
Exactly.
That thing. You see, that's why certain things shouldn't take us unawares now, as a government or as military or as defense, because in the end, we do know that these criminal elements are going to stop at nothing, absolutely nothing, at ensuring that they bring us to our knees, which of course we believe will never happen because we have the resources, we have the wherewithal overall to be able to, as it were, tackle all of this. But again, the uncertainty really is about the willpower of the government to deal with these once and for all.
Very importantly, it's I think this is a step in the right direction. It's very important that we understand that insecurity is here with us, and it's a major problem. And for one thing or the other, it's getting out of hand. A lot of individuals now it's coming to the door post of individuals like an individual's home front. It's a very serious issue, and I'm glad that the government is looking into it. And for the reconvening, it's very, very important. We have bigger pressing issues to deal with in front of insecurity, kidnapping, banditry, terrorism. It's a serious problem, and it's getting out of hand. And it's I think it's long overdue. I think this is kind of seriousness we would have had at the beginning of all of this in order to douse, well, not completely eradicate, but we're not the only country suffering from this particular act of kidnapping and all, but at least it will not be as high as it is now. It is high. Let's not live in denial. It's high, and it's scary, and it's worrisome when you sit and you hear things that happen, how people are being kidnapped in their home. It's just unfortunate, really. But I'm glad that we're taking a new turn, we're taking a new direction to try as much as possible to curb this menace which has come. It's a monster which we're trying to eradicate in our society.
There's this story that came through yesterday about a report stating that the federal government has dismissed some suggestion that it is adopting the consideration of the introduction, rather, of new taxes on telecommunications and petroleum products. When that speculation came up a couple of weeks ago, many Nigerians became very apprehensive and angered for reasons that are very valid and justifiable. But the government is now saying, look, wherever you heard that from, I mean, it's not our source.
It better be.
We are not even thinking in that direction. But you see, this is how it normally works within the circles of government. You try to, as they say, shoot a kite or fly a kite just to see how would the people react to it. Exactly. But of course, the reaction is very clear. And nobody's in doubt as to what the reaction is. So the federal government knows better. Now it says, look, we are not considering taxes on petroleum products, neither are we considering taxes on telecom services, because it was barely a year ago that we saw some 50 or so % hike in the prices, upward review.
Exactly.
In tariffs, telecom tariffs, whether it's data or calls or what have you. So it would be
outrageous.
Inhuman, exactly.
Outrageous.
To say we are now going to introduce taxes. So the president's inclination basically is capitalist in nature. You can't take that away, and he believes that for the most part, we can replicate a credit system or credit model like you have in the US. Again, that's a subject of debate because the Nigerians who believe that while that have its own blessings, Nigeria is not in that state.
No, we're not involved to that.
To be able to do that. Yes, even if we have to, we don't have to be so aggressive about it. We have to take it one step at a time.
Very important.
We must be able to bring about a transition that is seamless, smooth, and doesn't have to bother Nigerians more than they are already economically challenged at this point in time. So I think to that extent, it just makes common sense that the government is saying, look, no taxes on telecoms, no taxes on petroleum products.
And I think it's clear from what they got, the backlash in which they got that from. Of course, let it just stay as a rumor because the take-home alone, when it comes to the take-home pay alone, is barely enough when it comes to healthcare, education, transport, and all of that, housing. It's barely enough. And then to add this, that's like adding insult to injury.
Right.
It's just unfortunate. But thank God, let it just be a rumor as it is. But I don't think any Nigerian is prepared for more
burden.
More burden. Exactly.
Right.
No, it's not. It's not going to happen. With what no, I don't think so.
You have to take Jumai seriously. She has guaranteed you that it is not going to happen.
I'm not the only one that's saying it.
I mean, we can say Jumai is the lobbyist now on behalf of the good people of Nigeria. Well, I think that's what it should be. We must bring emotional intelligence to
very important
because leadership is for the people.
It is for the people, and that is what democracy stands for. For the people, by the people. And the thing is, we have to understand that it's not all about that particular individual who is there. It has to be a balance between the individual and the people in whom you represent. And if it's not going down with the people, that means you're not doing well as a leader. It's leadership by example. You have to balance the two. You have to fit yourself in being that shoe of leadership, which is important. But at the same time, you must wear the shoes of the people also to understand the brunt in which they feel. They put you in there. Right. It's our vote, it's our power. That is why you are there. Whether you feel it was rigid or flexible, you were there. And we've decided to, okay, because we do not have any other say, we've decided to walk along with you. But there has to be a balance. Right. There has to be a balance. Really.
There has to be. And speaking of balance, just before we hit our first break on the program this morning, some members of the House of Representatives on the side of the opposition. And now, I would say they are telling the president, they are reminding President Bola Tinubu that, look, you must shelve politicking. I mean, put it aside for a second and face squarely with absolute sense of responsibility, right, and sincerity, right, to deal with the challenge of insecurity.
Very important.
You can have both of them. We can't pretend that the president at this point in time has divided attention because he has an election ahead of him. This is not just an election where he has a handful of people for whom he is seeking electoral victory. The president himself is on the ballot in 2027. Therefore, we will sit here and lie to ourselves for 2.5 hours or something, believing or telling ourselves that, look, the president is squarely focused on it. It's distracting him, it's weighing on him, because it's huge. Jumani is not just trying to increase the height of your fence in your house. This is trying to provide security for over 200 million lives besides their property. So to that extent, you can only imagine the enormity of work that the president has on his hands in terms of insecurity alone. We're not talking about the economy or infrastructure or opposition politics. And then you now add 2027, where the president himself has even so much alluded to the possibility or maybe the veracity, as it were, because this is coming from a man who gets briefing more than anyone else in this country, that there is some entity, perhaps a vested political interest, that is trying to push him out of office, or at least denying a return possibility in 2027, using insecurity as a method, exactly as a tool to achieve that. So when you hear a president say that this is not a leaked memo, this is a video that is out there in public, it's all over the place, right? So he already indicates that the president at this point in time is under some pressure. And so when you have a bunch of members of the House of Representatives coming to say, look, Mr. President, with all due respect, sir, you've got to take your time and devote all your energy into fighting insecurity. I think that call is appropriate and extremely timely.
I think it is also. I for one reason, when I read that report this morning, I totally agree, because lives matter, really, and lives on a daily, they are being unalive on a daily by these individuals, abductions over and over, kidnappings, school children, schools being targets, and all of that. It is a serious issue, and I think we should put aside the 2027 election, which is, of course, next year, and focus on what it is now, securing lives and property, which is very important. And I think it's a step in the right direction. And yes, it is timely, very important. I think we need to nip that in the bud so that every other thing can fall in place. Once there's security, lives are safe, people are free to move from one place to another without the fear of being kidnapped. You're home, you're secured, and come on.
Everything else.
It's a walk in the park. It's a walk in the park. But once there's so much insecurity, you're scared to go out at about 8 p.m. because you do not know what can happen. Individuals, you see it's a very scary time in Nigeria. It's a very scary time, I would tell you. But at the same time, I think scale of preference, we should try as much as possible to, if it's not going to go out completely, but let it reduce to the barest minimum so that we can at least have succor, we can have a breath of fresh air, and those in captivity. That is another major problem. There's so many individuals, the ones we know, the ones that we do not know at all, that are held captive till today. So it's a serious problem, and these bandits are, raising their shoulders up and, going about for more missions when it comes to abductions, kidnappings, when it comes to all of they are still out there reinforcing on a daily, getting weapons from God knows where, and it's a serious problem. I think this is a major challenge. Once we actually curb all of this, then of course 2027 elections, when it has, a lot of things can fall in line, and it will be better at that point, but it's no better time to be said than now, really.
Well, interesting. We're taking a break now, but that break ought to actually bring us some. Let's say, yes, Juma was supposed to be in the kitchen before now, but I don't know. Are we dealing with a case of misplaced priorities?
No, we are not. Of course, we are still going to go into the kitchen, and that's where the segment of taste and texture comes in. And of course, no, I'm not going to tell you what we're having for breakfast. It's just a breakfast idea, but just sit back, relax, because up next is taste and texture. Enjoy.
Hello everyone and welcome to Taste and Texture. Today we are going to be preparing boiled plantain and egg sauce. For the boiled plantain, we'll be needing the following: ripe fresh plantain, knife and clean pot, water. Here is the process of preparing boiled plantain. Wash and cut or dice your fresh ripe plantain into few pieces. In a clean pot, add your diced and washed ripe plantains. Add water, salt and cover to cook for a few minutes. Drop and drain the water, and then after a few minutes peel the boiled plantain and set aside. For the egg sauce, we will be needing a few fresh pieces of raw eggs. In a clean bowl, break your raw eggs and whisk. Get your clean frying pan and add oil to fry. Add your pepper, mix and stir for a few minutes. Then add Maggi and other seasoning of your choice. Then stir and add corned beef. Optional. Also stir your already whisked eggs, and finally add parsley and stir it. Our boiled plantain and egg sauce is ready. That's it on this episode of the show. I hope you will try this recipe at home. Join me again on Taste and Texture next time. I am Sadia Yakubu. See you again.
All right, you're welcome back, and hope you enjoyed that yummy-licious, tasty, mouth-watering segment. I'm looking at you, mouth-watering segment on Taste and Texture. Hope you're going to try it. Plantain idea.
All right.
Yeah, delicious.
A lot of iron.
A lot of iron. Very delicious, by the way. Extremely yummy. Did I mention yummy-licious and tasty?
Yeah, you did, yes.
I mentioned everything in between. Mouth-watering, yummy-licious, tasty.
I think you're doing all of that to incentivize the idea that I try it out today.
Yes, very important. Hope you're going to try that segment, that particular recipe on Taste and Texture. Plantain and eggs, really delicious. Right. But okay, up next,
while you're playing with that idea that Juma just introduced as plantain and egg sort of combo, let's now bring in Ramsey Enoch Agbo to bring us heart-to-heart inspirational.
Hello and welcome to another moment of heart-to-heart inspirational. Let's talk heart-to-heart a little bit, because a lot of people have not been able to bounce back after the last time they failed. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Welcome to Heart-to-Heart Inspirationals. Failure is a feedback and not a funeral. I want to say that again, because of people who failed. Some people fell and they remain on the ground. They never got up again because of what they feel people around them are going to say. But then failure is a feedback. And that's why some people tell you all the time that whatever happens, all right, there is a lecture from every lesson. You know, whatever happens to you in life, there is something that you are meant to learn from it, either positively or negative thing that you need to take cognizance of and be watchful as you move on the journey of life. So I just want to tell you today that failure is a feedback and not a funeral. What kind of feedback did you get from that last failure? Have you even tried anything at all? Have you experienced failure before? If you've not experienced failure before, it means you need to try harder, because on this journey of destiny, people who are successful today are people who have failed a number of times and they got up on their feet, learned from their mistake, and their mistake became a stepping stone for them. And of course, they are where they are today. Why? Because they never allow that failure to become a funeral to their dream. What am I emphasizing? As a matter of fact, let's normalize something today, all right? Let's normalize something today. A failure, you've heard about it all the time. Okay, this person is a failure, that person is a failure. You know, people assess their counterparts, their neighbors, their brothers, their colleagues differently with different perspectives. Some persons already have been tagged as failure, and that has been affecting a lot of people. But then, have you accepted that you are a failure? That somebody told you are a failure does not make you a failure until you accept that you are a failure. All right, not because it feels good, yeah, but because it is necessary. Sometimes, you know, it's risk. It's risk. If you have taken a risk before, and of course, it didn't go well the way you think it was going to go, and you failed, it doesn't mean that is a funeral. It doesn't mean you shouldn't try it again. I was speaking with someone a few days ago, yeah, and we're talking about a particular business, and the young man told me, now I am successful. But then, during my wilderness experience, when I was in the workshop, nobody knew anything about me. When I was failing over and over and over again, I lost money several times. I had to stay indoors and think of the next thing to do. He failed severally until he said, no, I am not going to allow this failure become a funeral. My dream is not going to be cut short by this failure. And he stood on his ground. Consistency. I must always emphasize consistency anytime I come up to speak to anyone on heart to heart, because it is very important. If you want to succeed in life, then consistency and discipline is very important. But the bottom line is this: nobody ever succeeds without first stumbling. Yes. You stumble, then you stand again. Even every little child, before a child starts walking, you stand them up, you see them, they walk a little bit, they fall. They walk a little bit, they fall until their leg gets stabled on the ground. All right? And you see them walking firmly. Then before you know it, they start running. The same thing is applicable to life. So failure, as a matter of fact, is not proof that you can't. All right, it's not a proof that you can't do it. It's proof that you tried. It's a proof that you tried. When you fail, it means you tried and you failed. It doesn't mean that's the end. It reveals what doesn't work and refine what eventually would work later. That's what failure does. Anytime you fail, you know that, yes, this one does not work. Let me try the other one. It gives you a focus. It makes you know that, yes, if I go this way, I'm going to fail again. So I need to do something else. It's only a fool that do the same thing the same way and expect a different result. If you are doing one thing the same way all the time, you get the same result. You need to apply technicality, strategy, discipline, excellence every time. Whatever you do, let that touch of excellence be in your head, all right? So that when you fail in one thing, you try doing it the other way. But then don't allow that first, second, third, fourth failure be your funeral. Let your dream and your vision and your talent not be buried because you failed. Because that failure is trying to refine you. It's trying to build something in you. What do you have to do? I want you to know that failure, what it does is that it reveals what doesn't work and refines what eventually will work. But you need to have this mentality. Every setback is information. If you are willing to learn, yes, that's what it means. Every setback that you've had in the past is an information, because there is something you need to learn from every setback, from every failure. Everyone throwing stones at you right now is because they know you are going somewhere. A lot of, see, let me tell you the truth. We have a lot of friendly enemies these days. Some people are smiling with you, but then they are not interested in your success. What they say behind you, if you hear it, hey, but then that shouldn't deter you. That shouldn't deter you, because you have a destination. So every setback is information if you are willing to learn, because most people don't fail because they are incapable. That you failed, it's not because you are incapable, but because you are going somewhere, because you are dogged, because you are rugged, because you are determined, because you are focused, because you have a dream, you have a vision, something you are pursuing and something you want to get. You have a target. So when people like that fail, they fail because they don't stop. But if you stop anytime soon, it means that failure has gotten to you. Let me give you an instance, an illustration. For instance, a GPS recalculates when you miss a turn. It doesn't shut down. All right? Failure, in other words, simply means it's time to adjust. Anytime you fail, the message is, no, I need to adjust. This principle, this procedure, this formula is not working. I need to adjust. There is something I need to do so that I don't fail again. That's what it means. Anytime you fail, there is a message. It is telling you it is time to adjust the procedure. It is time to re-strategize. That's what it means. All right, so you don't need to abandon your journey because you failed. There is a practical mindset shift that you need to have, and this is it. Number one, stop attaching shame to failure. Yes, stop attaching shame to failure. Some people, when they fail, they feel shy. Oh no, I'm not going to get on that stage again. They will laugh at me. No, I'm not going to do that business again. People will laugh at me. People will mock me. The same people will celebrate and want to identify with you if you are a success. So there should be a mindset and a mind shift for you. Extra lessons instead of self-criticism. Stop criticizing yourself because you failed. Stop criticizing yourself. Stop comparing yourself to other people with other people because you failed. That you failed. Failure is not a funeral. Stop burying yourself in shame and criticism. Try again. Make it better. Make it wiser. Make it stronger. That's what it means. All right? Failure is tuition paid for future success. That is a quote that I'm bringing to you now. Failure, I said, is what? Is tuition paid for future success. But if you don't pay, if you go to school now, all right, 100 level, you need to pay a tuition. In 100 level, you get to 200, you pay another tuition before you can get to 300 level. In every of this level, there are tuitions to pay. If you want to change levels in life, don't be scared of failure. If you are scared of failure, you will never try anything good. So what you have to do? Keep pushing. Don't bury your dream because of one mistake that you made. I'll keep saying this. Learn, rise, and move forward. Don't worry about what people are saying. Don't worry about the situation around you. Don't think, oh, I have failed. I don't need to try it again. Keep trying. Change the strategy. Become wiser. Failure make you wiser. Because you walk through this way and you fail, you apply this strategy, this technique, this principle, this formula, and you failed. You will now need to re-strategize. Use another formula. All right? Until you get to your success. Until you get to what you want to achieve in life. All right? So you need to know that anytime you fail, it's a signal that you need to turn. You need to do something again. You need to re-strategize. You need to improvise. Come up with something new. As a matter of fact, failure is not the best option for you. So what do you have to do? Try as much as possible, right, to be sincere in everything that you do. Because if you want to please people, it will be disastrous. You don't need to please anyone, all right? You don't need to please anyone. It is when you're thinking about pleasing people that when you stumble, you say, oh, I've disappointed this person. I've disappointed even people who really love you, who want you to be successful. By the time you fail, instead of them condemning you, they will come and encourage you to do better. And that's the reason you need mentors. That's the reason you need people to talk to per time. All right? You need to talk to people. See, if you are embarking on a project, I emphasize mentorship all the time. I was speaking with a friend a few days ago, and I told the person, if I want to do this thing you're doing now, it is going to be express for me. It's going to be easier. I may have hitches. There might be some times where you have losses or maybe failure at some point, but then you have people to ask questions. I have someone to ask questions. Hey, I got hooked here. What do I do? Even the disaster is not going to be as disastrous as it would have been if you never have anyone to guide you on this journey of destiny. You really need people, okay? Because as your association determine your acceleration in life, okay? And your friends, you need to be careful with the kind of friends you have. If you have a bad friend, it is disaster. If you have a good friend, it means you have a shoulder to lean on, a shoulder to stand on and be tall so that you can get to that success that you are running after, that you are pursuing. Yes, congratulations, everyone. You are a success going somewhere to happen. Don't allow anything stop you on the way. Not failure, not criticism. Don't bury yourself because you failed. Failure is not funeral. Bye-bye for now and have a beautiful day.
All right, you're welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Global Morning. Hope you were well inspired from that segment, Heart to Heart Inspirational, with Ramsey Enoch Agbo. At about this time is the newspaper review segment, and the first paper of the day is the Punch newspaper, giving you some very punchy headlines. Now, at the side of the nameplate on page 22, it says FG halts stamp duty deductions by MDAs. And that's on page 2. And it says here, First Holdco closes 45 billion naira private placement at 44.06 naira, further strengthening First Bank's capital base. And the star story on the Punch, it says Ekiti decides security forces mobilize as INEC moves sensitive materials today. And that is on page 2. And the rider says, police activate election operations, 10,000 NSCDC personnel deployed. Appeal court inaugurates election tribunal. And on page 26, it says, opposition lawmakers berate Tinubu over worsening insecurity hardship. That's on page 26. And on page 7, it says, ICPC defends El-Rufai detention as group hires U.S. lobbyist. That's on page 7. And below that, on page 4 and 6, it says here, Nigerian Air Force killed her husband, abandoned her with 3 children, and that's a widow. And Kwara dragged Saraki to court over alleged defamation, and that's on page 7. Basically, those are all the major headlines on the Punch newspaper. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well informed with the issues making rounds. And next is the Daily Trust. Over to you, Lee.
Okay, let's begin with 3 headlines below the nameplates. Top right corner, questions as NDC asks candidates to sign agreements. Those details, interestingly, are on page 10. You know, Jumai, the NDC, that's the party of Peter Obi and Kwankwaso.
Yes,
right?
it is.
Is now saying that, look, by its own action, once beaten, twice shy. They probably were not the ones beaten. I think it was the Labour Party that got beaten, basically. But the NDC is now saying that, look, if Jumai Manson wants to be anything political on this platform, in this party, she has to sign a commitment sort of form, which means that she must make commitment formally pending her signature. That when she wins as a senator, she wins a seat at the House of Representatives, she becomes a governor or president or a State House of Assembly member on the platform of our party, she cannot leave the party. And then conditions are provided upon which you can leave the party. But then when you leave the party, one of the conditions is you must also leave the seats. So if Jumai wins a seat on the platform of our party, let's say as a senator, and then one day she wakes up and says, well, for whatever reason I'm leaving this party. Oh, we can't stop you. I mean, freedom of association, you can go wherever you like. However, you will have to vacate the seats at the Senate. Right, so that's what they're doing. We hear some persons are grumbling, they're murmuring,
No, they shouldn't.
they're bickering, they're not happy about it, but the party's position is very clear.
Very clear. And if you cannot beat them,
And I think in this case, if you cannot join
if you
them,
cannot join them, you leave. Not beat them, join them. If you cannot join them, you leave. And I
Right.
think it's out there, and of course it's specific, so you
Right.
understand. So it's a matter of choice. It's offer and acceptance. So if you want to be part and parcel of this political party, it's either you align or you fall out. So
Exactly.
it's very important. And yes, you said once beaten, twice shy. We've seen a lot of cases like that, from defections here and there, where individuals are governors and they defect to another party. It's so uncalled for. Using under that particular platform, getting that position, and then later on you feel, oh my goodness, they do not align with what we're talking about, or I'm not in support of, so you decide to defect. I think this is a step in the right direction, and it's an eye-opener for other parties to actually learn from. So that these defections that are so easy to make, you think twice about it before you defect. And it's another way, a subtle way of saying, try and make your party better, make it work, stay there, make it work, so you don't have to defect from one party and relinquishing your position in which you attained through that party.
Well, Juma has said it all. Juma is not a partisan politician.
No, I'm not.
She's very savvy when it comes to advising the political class.
Don't put me on the spot, really.
All right, let's move on now. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, Kika here says, Ekiti, Oyembanji battles 12 challengers in governorship poll. This is an cleared of all charges in UK corruption trial. Did I hear you say finally?
Finally. It's been a long time coming. This has dragged for such a long period.
She said she has been
years.
vindicated.
Yeah, she said.
And she's grateful to God.
Of course, it is. Do you know what it is? You know, there's this tag, or let's say stigma. You know, someone who laundered so much money.
Public funds.
Public fund. It's a big deal. It's a big deal with all those. We were here. We don't know whether they were true or not. Wristwatches she acquired. Lingeries, a lot that was worth millions and millions of naira. But all the same, well, the law has taken its course.
Right.
And, well, she has been dropped of all charges of corruption trial. So hopefully it's a step in the right direction.
And to think, Joanna, that this happened in no other place than the United Kingdom.
Yes, it
if
did.
it were in Nigeria, I'm sure some of us would say, well, who knows?
Exactly.
A few things happened underneath the table.
She used her power to, of course,
to influence the
outcome. But it's not in Nigeria. And you know, the United Kingdom, when it comes to investigation, they are very thorough, and they do not blink an eye. When it comes to bribery and corruption, it's not in their books. So definitely, that means she is really acquitted, free to go. So
now we understand she still has allegations, of misappropriation of public funds to face in Nigeria, but that's a kettle.
Well, that's a kettle of fish, but at
Yeah.
least one step in the right direction. She has been free from something. At
Yes.
least she's free. So
She
hopefully.
can sleep well now.
I don't say this because she's my gender. I know. I
Can
know.
we- can we
I know
return-
you're driving
can we
towards
return to the
that,
papers?
but we thank God for everything.
I will not fall into Jummai's trap. I will not. All right, let's look at the big headline for you on the front page of the Daily Trust this morning. It says, fix insecurity or step aside, reps tell Tinubu. I also talked about that a while ago.
Yes, we did.
On the program. And then as we go further, 4 more headlines. Federal government rejects IMF's advice on fuel telecoms taxes on page 5. Yes, federal government is doing the right thing by the people. Nigeria does not belong to IMF, by the way. Despite outcry, work advances in Abuja hospital sites converted to estate. 10 Cameroonians held in Lagos over alleged human trafficking. Can you imagine that? The government launches digital TV, targets 40 million homes. You can read up those details on page, 25. That's talking basically about the digital switchover initiative of the federal government. Please read up all of these headlines, or at least some of them, from the Daily Trust this morning. Next port of call is, let's see what we have for you, the Vanguard newspaper.
All right, the Vanguard newspaper above the nameplate, it says, First Holdco closes 45 billion naira private placement at 44.06, further straightening First Bank's capital base. Okay, and below all of that, we have on page 7, UK court acquits ex-petroleum minister Alison Madueke of bribery charges. Okay, and on page 12, it says here, Warri declination, our position going forward, Ijo Irobo leaders. That's on page 12. So, and here on page 24, it says how Showore lost in his alleged rights violation suit against SSS, ITS, DGE. And the Star Story says, Jakba, only 55,000 doctors left to treat 220 million Nigerians. And if that is not worrisome, I do not know what that is. That is a very serious worsening issue here. And here on the right it says 16,000 doctors emigrated in 5 years, and Nigeria's mental health crisis worsening. That's ARD, PNPH, Yaba. 85% of Nigerians with mental disorders lack treatment access. Now that's cause for worry again. And below that, on page 19, it says, no considerations for fuel, telecoms, taxes. FG replies, IMF. Fantastic. On page 35, it says, Lagos CP allays fears over terror threats at Pan Atlantic University, deploys drones. Well, that's a step in the right direction to watch and see all
Now, where
activities.
you have the Lagos Business School.
It's very important, very, very important. And on page 32, it says, my take on Kwara's next governor. That's former information commissioner. And, of course, we have the Mr. and Mrs. column, my favorite part. And just go out and get yourself a copy of the Vanguard to be well informed on the issues making rounds. Next, we have This Day.
All right, well, top of the headline, I'm sorry, I should say the name mast here, reads, AYESO highlights infrastructure, asset integrity as key constraints in oil industry. 2 writers telling us NUPRC and RS deepen collaboration to boost revenue collection. The gas minister backs Nigerian-led African Petroleum Regulators Forum. Well, you start reading on the front page, continuing on page 8. Federal government, no plan to introduce new telecoms, fuel taxes. Trump signs Iran MOU, says 60-day nuclear talks. INEC, 1,059,360 registered voters to elect new governor for Ekiti State, June 20. And then, of course, we have one again after that, which will be in August in Ekiti. That will be in Osun. UK court clears ex-minister Alison Madueke of all graft charges. Decade of unrelenting, unjust vilification finally concluded, says former minister. Pledges to address matter in detail, share intentions for the future. Jury arrived at decision after 46-hour deliberation. That was quite a marathon. There's a quote here that is probably the centrality of this story from Alison Madrick herself. Says, I'm profoundly relieved my name has been cleared and this ordeal has come to an end. This, however, is not the final chapter. In due course, I shall address this difficult period in greater detail and share my intentions for the future. For now, I intend to embrace the freedom that has been unjustly denied me for many years. I was going to say, hey, yeah, but I don't know if it's appropriate to say.
No, it's not. Keep it to yourself. So it's okay.
Sure, I did that before you said it. Well, those are all the headlines from this day newspaper today. Quite frankly, this matter is historic in light of our fight against grafts. Okay, but then this turns out to have happened in the United Kingdom, not in Nigeria. All right.
Yes, it is. I don't know. You're no, off camera. I'm not going to say.
I know you admire my sense of humor. Well,
I like the fact
that
that you understand that I just said just keep it to yourself. It's fine. Next is the Nigerian Tribune.
All right.
And let's quickly move to the Nigerian Tribune now. And above the nameplate, it says here, insecurity overtakes economy as Nigerians' top concern ahead of 2027 elections. And that's from the SMD Intelligence. It says 80% of voters say Nigeria heading wrong direction. And next on page 7, it says Nigeria's external reserves rise to $1 billion in 14 years, near CBN $51.04 billion 2026 target. Now the writer says, as IMF cautions against continued accumulations. And the Star story reads, Dezani free, London court clears her of bribery charges, and that's on page 3. And the writer says, ex-minister says, faith, family sustained me through 11 years of traumatic journey. It has been a long time coming. The stress, if you do not have family members around, first of all, God, to give you the strength to live through all of this. I'm not saying she's innocent, please. I'm just trying to explain to individuals that these things happen. You must have God, family, and good friends to help you live through it. A lot of people didn't.
It's quite a dark period.
It's a very dark period, really. And on page 3, it says, 2.8 billion naira contract fraud. How Siriki approved Nigeria Air Consultancy contract to associate, and that's EFCC. And on page 15, it says, Ekiti governorship poll, INEC reports 97.1% PBC collection. And it says, as NAV airlifts sensitive materials for Gerber by elections. And on page 24, it says, FG launches free TV platform. By the way, you know we're on free TV, right?
Right.
Fantastic.
Right.
And it says, targets jobs, investment, and of course, investment growth. And it says here, federal government commissions NADDC Automobile Training Center in Zamfara State. And that's on page 4. And on page 6, it says, news analysts what US-Iran deal signals for Nigeria's oil-dependent economy. And the health segment says, exercise closest treatment to slow Parkinson's disease, say researchers. And that's on page 27. And I agree, because Parkinson's has to do with the whole organs, movement of the uncontrollable movement of the body. I think once you exercise, exactly, and then that movement can actually give that stable outward look. Next is the Guardian.
All right, thank you, Juma. The Guardian here says, let's see, top left corner. Federal government shuns IMF, rules out fuel telecom taxes, the right way to go. Nutrition 774 adopts homegrown funding model, targets 500 billion naira gap. Electricity Act amendments sparks protest as state regulators warn of re-centralization instead of the decentralization that we have seen lately. All of this is coming to you from the Guardian newspaper. Let's see the big one here with the kicker that reads 2027 polls, conflicting court orders, weak oversights raise credibility doubts. And then you find a picture, infographics laid out on the front page of the Guardian. On the left, the right corner of it says Nigeria listed among hotspots for acute food insecurity, greatest concern. That very concerning story you'll find on page 4. London court acquits Diezani Alison Madueke of bribery charges. Again, you find on page 4 those details. Opposition reps ask Tinubu to shelve politicking, address national crisis. Nigerian Air Force airlifts sensitive electoral materials for Ekiti gubernatorial polls. Others. Cosmetics, food, beverages top 50% of counterfeit products. All right, I'm sure Jumai will be particularly interested in the part that talks about cosmetics being in this park. I mean, when you talk about counterfeit products, and women, really, my wife says beauty is pain.
Yes, it
but
is.
we need to add a pain of counterfeit products?
No, we do not. And of course, that's been detrimental to one's health. So you have to be very careful when it comes to... And many women do not understand that these products, cosmetic products, have expiry dates. They keep using them over and over again, especially when it has to do with the lips, the eye, and all that. You should check. There's a way you can actually check. So please, women need to be very aware, because this is very detrimental to one's health. So it's very important. When you say beauty is pain, not to the detriment of your life.
So we need to understand that context.
Just like when you wear shoes, for instance.
They hurt a little.
And it hurts a little, you can at least like heels. You can manage.
So when you take them off. You slip something easier on.
Exactly. Or you just allow your foot to rest and then still put them back on.
So that shows you observe the things my wife wears. Right?
It's very important.
I know when she switches between the heels and the slippers or some sort of slip-on that are easy on the legs.
Yes, it's very important. For as much as you have to, it's painful. But
manage yourself. I think that's the best place to start leadership, all right? But those are your headlines from the Guardian newspaper this morning. Do well to read up details as much as you can. Let's take you over now to the Nation newspaper. Juma has those headlines.
All right, now the Nation newspaper, and above the nameplate of the Nation newspaper, it says the same news over and over again. First Holdco closes 45 billion naira private placement at 44.06, further straightening First Bank capital base. And below that, it says on page 3, a picture of former President Abdulsalami Abubakar. It says, my experiences from Vasta Okar coup by Abdulsalami. And it says here on page 2, UK judiciary clears Diezani of corruption charges. And on page 6, it says, INEC gives recognition to Gombe-led SDP. Then on page 7, it says, telcos accounted for 7.8% of GDP last year. And below that, it says, terrorist Halilu sentenced to death by hanging. And on page 5, it says, kidnappers being recruited in Edo. Now, that's cause for concern and worry.
It's very extremely concerning.
And you know how... No, let me keep that comment to myself.
Can we just focus on the headlines?
Yeah, exactly, please.
Thank you.
That's on page 5. I don't want to say anything. He's here. And it says, senators, reps to decide retaliation against South Africa. And the star story reads, anti-migrant actions, a dent on Mandela's legacy, says federal government. I completely agree with that. And basically, it says here, Afrophobia threatens youth jobs. Continental Unity says MTN CEO, and that's on page 2. Basically, and then it says, government's 1 trillion naira T-bills oversubscribed by 860 billion naira. And rather says it's a challenge for reforms, sustenance. And below that, it says here, 24 hours to signing deal. Trump says U.S.-Iran pact averted economic catastrophe. And that's on page 3. And basically, those are the headlines on the Nation. And we have the Daily Sun.
Turns out Daily Sun is our last paper for you this morning. First here it says, federal government elevating 2027 politics above citizens' welfare. That's attributed to the Reps Caucus, House of Representatives, all right, on the Daily Sun newspaper. The writer says, urges Tinubu to rescue abducted or your children, teachers, in 72 hours. Okay, terror groups Mahmudawa, Lakurawa members nabbed, gunmen kill monarch, 9 others, injure 11 in Plateau, Kaduna. It's quite a messy sort of scene. JAMB releases UTME original results sleep outlines guidelines for access. Catholic bishop demands end to terrorism from Tinubu. Nigerians tired of killings, kidnappings. I read up on page 27. London court acquits Desiani of bribery charges. Ex-minister says her name has been cleared. ACF flees alleged ethnic profiling, deportation threats against northern women in Ondo. That's on page number 27. Those are all the headlines from the front page of the Daily Sun this morning. You have a responsibility to read out details. On our end, we always would like to remind you that Global Television, as a broadcast media entity, or the team here on Global Morning, does not in any way contribute to these headlines. We just bring them to you exactly as published by their respective publishers. We're taking a quick break. Up next is Ogochukwu Omobuno with Social Bars. Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debates, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global
TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
At Erojim Shoe Factory, excellence starts from the ground up. Located at number 1 Pound Road behind Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State. We produce 1,500 high-quality shoes every single day. Paramilitary shoes, safety boots, desert boots, ankle shoes, back-to-school footwear. All crafted with state-of-the-art equipment and built for strength, comfort, and durability. For reliable footwear that stands the test of time, choose Erojim Shoes for better product, strong steps, smart style. For inquiries, call 091-264-53399 or 070-3009-3944 or 080-6573-8374 or call 081-3167-3668. Email info@erojim.com. Website www.erojimdesign.com. Erojim. Walk with confidence. Walk with pride.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Boss Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. It's time for us to look at buzzing issues making waves on social media. Today we're looking at NFSS officer alleges harassment by police in Delta State. An officer of the Nigerian Forest Security Service has narrated an alleged encounter with police officers at Ologbo River Junction in Ogara, Delta State. According to the officer, the policeman claimed that carrying prescribed medication was unlawful and questioned his possession of a knife, despite his status as an officer of an armed security agency. He further alleged that after presenting what he described as a Federal High Court ruling permitting the recording of police officers on duty without consent, the officer attempted to seize his camera and confiscate the knife, which he said belongs to the NFSS. The officer also claimed that when he requested legal evidence to support the officer's position that consent was required before recording them, he was allegedly threatened with detention and unnecessary delays. The Delta State Police Command has not yet responded to this allegation yet in the time of taking this particular report. Well, let's take a look at that video.
So essentially, this officer... No. The Federal High Court says no, that we have a right to video police officers on duty. And I just showed it to you.
And we what?
Without consent.
Without consent.
Let us check it.
Do it with my consent now.
Let us check it.
Do it now with my consent.
How do you mean?
Without make me do it without your consent. Do it without my consent. And you say without consent. What are you not talking? You say the Federal High Court says you.
So essentially, this officer... No. The Federal High Court says no, that we have a right to video police officers on duty. And I just showed it to you.
And we what?
Without consent.
Without consent.
Let us check it.
Do it with my consent now.
Let us check it.
Do it now with my consent.
How do you mean?
Without make me do it without your consent. Do it without my consent. And you say without consent. What are you not talking? You say the Federal High Court says you.
All right. so well, before we start discussing about that, let's take a look at some comments from social media as regards this. And the first comment coming from Mao Kakisin. And Kakisin says, kindly share an update when the Nigerian police force responds to this video. We would love to see who is superior, the IG or his junior officers. Of course, we would love to also bring it out here to everyone. All right, the next comment is coming from Peola Equipment. And Peola says, training and retraining should be imbibed as a culture for our police officers. Of course, most times I get to question what kind of training is given. Is it physical, just physical training, and do they even know the law so well? Because some of them just want to quote the law, but at the end of the day, it's not even working. All right, the last comment for today is coming from Christiana Obache. And Christiana said, it's time the government let go of some police officers in Nigeria and recruit highly educated people via adequate screening. Although the police force in other parts of the world are corrupt, there are situations where police officers were generating evidence with AI. I don't know if there is a test that can be used to ensure that the individual being recruited into the police force all over the world are kind people and not wicked ones, as there have been a lot of instances where people were being arrested for what they did not do because the police officer were biased, racist and discriminating. I believe police jobs should be for individuals that have high emotional intelligence, individuals that do not act on impulses and power drunk. All right, thank you so much. I like the fact that this last comment, talked about police officers generally, not just Nigeria. So I'm sure this person must have also, had something to do with other police officers in different parts of the country. All right, I'm not alone this morning. I have with me Jumai Manson. Good morning, Jumai.
Hi, Ogo. How are you doing today? It's great to be here with you doing this side by side.
Yes, very well. It's been a while, though.
Yes,
I
it
get
has.
to do this with you.
Yes,
and today we're talking about security operatives again.
Again.
It's more like an everyday topic.
Yes.
If they don't do this, they're doing the other one. And this person is holding a prescription. This person belongs to the Nigerian Forest Guard, of course, security. And he's holding his prescription. He's holding a drug, and he's telling you, there is a prescription there, doctor's prescription. That means I can take this drug. And it's a legal drug. It's not an illegal drug.
Exactly.
So why are you holding me? Why are you telling me that you are going to detain me? And that's why most persons kind of think, what is the kind of training they give to these police officers? I really don't know. Maybe you get your educators on that.
But the truth is, for as much as he has a prescription, it's not a controlled drug. It's not an illegal drug. I don't understand what the police are doing. I always mention that sometimes we do not understand our TOR, that's our terms of reference. Police officers need to understand where they should come in and where they should not. You don't work with the NDLEA. So I do not understand where this is coming from. This man has shown you evidence that, come on. And I'm so grateful that the forest guard, it's on camera, that's evidence, because you know how, because they say some police officers will actually twist and turn this whole issue. Thank God it was recorded for everyone to see. And at the same time, I think a lot needs to be done when it comes to training of our police officers. There are some that are fantastic, by the way. I have relatives who are police officers who have integrity, believe me. My Uncle Sam has integrity. But there are some that, they just do this job because they have to put food on the table and because it's the only way out. And most of these police officers are corrupt, which we know. But at the same time, do the needful. From the comments that you hear, they need training. They need to understand where, know their terms, know where it starts and know where to end such discussions. And if they were educated, they would have seen that there was a prescription. Hello? There's a prescription to show, and you can actually look at it and check. On Google. And exactly. Google is your friend. Google is your friend, but the prescription is there and the drug is there. So check and you will see. But just unfortunate that this is what we have and this is where we are. But hopefully the needful is done and there's an intervention as soon as possible.
All right. So the last comments, I'm coming back to the last comment because I said this person, I'm sure this person has traveled a while and that this person has seen a lot of things and different police officers in different part of the country, different countries. Because this person was talking about how power drunk some police are and also act on impulse. Yes. And also how, they detain people for wrong reasons. I was seeing so many persons in police custody for a long time. Recently, I was reading, I saw on social media, someone had been in police custody. He was 14 years when he was taken into police custody. The family forgot totally about him after looking for him for years and didn't get to find him until he was 36. They found him at age 36, from 14 to 36, for no reason. And, when they were reading through reports, they found out that they were chasing some criminals. They saw this young guy playing football outside with some friends. He said one of his friends actually died in police custody, so they packed all of them. They said, where are these criminals? We're chasing someone. Where are they? They said they don't even know they were playing football, and that's how they actually got hold of these not even youths, they were teenagers.
They're juveniles.
And before you know it, they were there in detention, they stayed there, nobody contacted their family, they were not allowed to contact their family and all of that. So these are the things we keep talking about. If we don't talk about it, it will happen, and it will not even happen just only in Nigeria, it's everywhere. We've seen people being detained for wrong reasons, every part of the country. And I don't know, is there no proper investigation? How is the police actually investigating? How do they do their investigation? Because I really want to know. I know sometimes some investigations can be really long. It could take years, and some can be very, very short to get to the conclusion of the issue. But how is this investigation? What is the process of investigation? What exactly do they do to arrive at their conclusion to say, okay, this person is a criminal and needs to be detained?
And that's why, from the comment that we read, someone says these individuals have to be educated. They have to have emotional, intellectual intelligence. It's very important. Investigation is still revisiting the scene and finding traces of tracks that can lead you to the answers in which you'll get. But unfortunately, this is where it is. And from that scenario you painted, very sad, at the age of 14 and now 36, a lot of individuals are behind bars because they were not managed well by the police officers. They were just detained unlawfully. So a lot needs to be done, and that is why some legal practitioners actually go out and do what we call pro bono. They go out to these correctional centers or the police stations and see how they can help bail out these individuals who have been charged illegally. And a lot needs to be done in that area. It's not just in Nigeria. Even in America, there are some police officers who are racist, who, if you're just black for the color of your skin and they just peg something on you, it's all over the world. I think a lot needs to be done in that particular form when it comes to police, not just police though, but it's more known with police officers. So a lot needs to be done, and that is why training, retraining, helping them to understand that you have to be morally upright. There's some things that you do not do and there's things that you should do, and the law needs to take its course. Whether you're the man on uniform and you are found wanting, the law must take its course. It's very important. It's very serious. No one is above the law, even when you are wearing the uniform and you're at the other side of authority. But let the right thing be done. We're all human. It's very important that we understand that, and to just put someone behind behind bars unjustly, it's really sad. Do you know the toll must have taken on the boy's psychology? 14. He's a juvenile. Why would you even put a juvenile behind bars? It's not done. Until access to prayer. That is so wrong. It's all in all shades of wrong. It is so 14. He's not even an adult yet. He's a teenager, and you're putting him in prison until 36. No, that's wrong.
2 years.
That is so wrong, and the law has to take its course. It's very important that we and not just the police, citizens, we should know our rights. If that forest guard didn't know his right, that is why that is at that process his rights would have been trampled upon. So as an individual, you must know your rights and understand your rights and know when not being rude, but knowing that you know your right. When you know your right
politely.
Exactly. And then when you know your right, the police officers will know that this you cannot trample with this individual. He or she knows her right. So it's very important. It's very service, but at the same time, let the law take its course, but let us do it with decorum. It's very important.
Thank you so much, Joy. You really said a lot. Our take home today is when you said, let these police officers be trained, and the ones that need retraining, please, very important. Let's also retrain them. Thank you once again, and this is where we close the curtains for Social Report here on Global Morning. Of course, Global Morning continues with Jomai and also we as they bring us the discussion section of Global Morning. Once again, good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. I am Okochukwu Mobno. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation. Share your thoughts. and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
At Witchtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Witchtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Witchtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
Hello, welcome to the weather forecast. Before we look ahead, let's take a quick review of the past 24 hours. This satellite imagery shows overnight systems that lingered into the early hours of Wednesday morning, gradually and slowly advancing westwards, triggering thunderstorm activities in some parts of the country, including the Federal Capital Territory, where commuters experienced wet conditions during the morning hours. Now, what do we expect for Thursday? During the morning hours, the chances of thunderstorms in parts of Taraba, Benue, parts of the southeastern states, Rivers, Edo, Lagos, Ogun, and Ondo states. Going into the afternoon and evening hours, our weather models indicate good chances and favorable conditions for stronger thunderstorm developments to the southern region of the country, parts of Niger, the Federal Capital Territory, Plateau, as well as some northern states. Now, if you're heading out on Thursday, keep your umbrellas within reach and stay updated to our latest weather information. I am Theodora Itum. Thank you for watching.
Well, let's get our conversation on the road for you now, everyone. In recent times, especially the last couple of days, we're seeing very heated exchange between President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and the Senator representing Edo North Senatorial District, Comrade Adams Aliu Oshomole. On some level, it will appear that this is something extremely personal about these two gentlemen. However, beyond the surface, we realize that the bone of contention here is some 210 trillion naira allegedly mismanaged, some people say misappropriated by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that is the NNPCL. Incidentally, the NNPCL, even before its unbundling, had always been on the bad side of history as far as it has to do with the books of the organization. And today it appears that things have come to a head, because more than ever before, there are now palpable fears that Nigerian economy may suffer further, given the way the NNPC has been run the last couple of years. Is there a way out of this? Are we just going to politic about it and have it swept under the carpet? Well, those are some of the questions we'll be asking in the next hour. We're joined by Comrade Haruna Brahimo, is a member of the APC. He's also an economic analyst. Haruna, as always, we're grateful for having you join us on the program.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning, Jumai.
Thank you for making time.
Thank you.
All right, let's not begin with politics. Let's talk about something more on the side of the public, which is, of course, the financials of the NNPCL.
Yeah.
A former member of your party, talking about, again, a former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, had also raised concerns a few years ago about the books of the NNPCL, even as a member of the ruling party at the time. Of course, at that point, you can't say, well, it's the opposition trying to weaponize this issue against the ruling party. I mean, you are very conversant with how financial books work. What are your genuine thoughts professionally about the state of the NNPC as it has to do with its financials?
Yeah, you dragged me into the political angle first.
I tried not to.
Now you want me to give a professional approach. The NNPC and its financial activities over the years dating back to when Obasanjo, the Fourth Republic, has not been in the good opinions of Nigerians based on what we have heard, what we have read, and what has been alleged. And if we date back to when Goodluck Jonathan was in power, you won't forget in a hurry the popular allegation of a $20 billion missing.
Right.
As alleged then by the former CBN governor, who is now Emir in Kano State. I'm talking of SLS, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, when he was CBN governor. Right. You know, imagine a city CBN governor making such a wow allegation of $20 billion unremitted, because he is the cashier of the federation. NNPC is the source of revenue. If the source of revenue, the bringer of the revenue, and the cashier, the holding of the revenue, the holder, they are having issues, and the cashier is saying that they did not receive from the source a particular amount as expected, because these are expectations. These are straightforward things. You know how many crude oil, how many barrels of crude oil we are producing in a day. Just suppose you know the JVs, the agreement that have been signed. We know the expenditure, because the expenditure part of these JVs are bought by the JVs drivers.
Squarely by them.
Of course, that is why we always get the net. You know, you net off every other thing. Right. We tell you all we need is 2 million barrel, 1.5 million barrel, as the case may be. You know, you can produce a benchmark of 2.5, use the 500,000 barrels to augment your own gains and expenditure. So what we receive, what we expect is net inflow.
Right.
You understand? And such has been going on, and then now, you know, but this is the issue at this moment. The issue we should be looking at is the book that has alleged the 210 trillion missing or unaccounted for. That is the right word, because nothing is actually missing professionally. You said I should speak to it professionally.
Right.
Unaccounted for. The professional lining and undertone that is backing such figure, the constitutional power of the Public Account Committee, PAC. Do they have the right to have extray into these figures?
Public Account Committee of the
Senate. And the third aspect, or the fourth aspect, has to do with the bench warrants of arrest.
Right.
Who has the power to issue a bench warrant? Was a bench warrant issued by the PAC are the things the public wants to know, so that we know who has erred.
Right.
And who has the power to withhold such bench warrant and say no. And when you are saying no, there shouldn't be bench warrant. Why are you saying no? In recognition of the obvious issue. This is where the questions and answers. So let's attach the 210 trillion.
Right.
An external audit account was prepared, or report, that audited NNPC from 2017 to 2022 or 2023 within that range. Because these things now we are talking about is in past. Because a lot of reforms of the federal government of today is taking care of some of these blocking these leakages or possible leakages. The whole audit report that was submitted was confirmed and also validated by the Auditor General of the Federation. An external auditor, they are outside parties that is mandated to be appointed to look into the books of account of any organization within a stipulated period, usually 12 months. But if the audit, imagine for the audit to have been in lieu for a long time, you know, from 2017, it shows that, because normally on a audit is on preceding year arrangement.
Right.
When we are 2026 now, we will be auditing
2025.
2025 right now. Next year we audit 2026. That's how audit is prepared.
Right.
But the situation that you have backlog, what must have led to having backlog when you have an organization like the NNPC?
Are there circumstances, Aruna, that justify having some backlog?
That is the beginning of the explanation that Mele Kyari, if he was available, ought to be first of all. That is the foundation.
But he's not the first GMD.
This is within his period in office. Okay. So that's 2017 to 2023. So why were there not regular audits
for those years
as provided by the laws? Whether it's the National Revenue Service laws, whether it's the tax laws, whether you call it the Company and Other Matter Act as provided. This also on its own even influenced the essence of corporate governance. If it was in America, they would have activated the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2001.
What was the implication of that?
Corporate governance. Because when there is no corporate governance, you have backlog. On what ground? The company is not the NNPC, the going concern concept in any company is that when a company is threatened, that the continuity of such company is in doubt. NNPC is not liquidated, its continuity is not threatened, NNPC has not favored up, it's not insolvent. So on what ground are you keeping backlogs of audit? Something that's supposed to be annual audit report. So let's leave that. You come back to the 210 trillion. The audit report, I've said in the report which I have read, that after examination, because the essence of audit is to examine the book of account independently. Because you have an accountant, you have all your system in your organization, but there is need for an external body to come, external professional to come and form an objective opinion in your books of account and records. And in doing that, they have to go through processes. They test the system. If the system is in compliance with relevant rules and regulations, in realization with the provision of the Financial Reporting Councils of Nigeria, international accounting standards, international best practices. They test all this, they do compliance tests, they do system tests. If the system, the financial report or the financial activities of the organization, they are in tandem with the system of operation, because there are system of operation. Every financial expenses has approval, authorization, disbursement, you understand? Call it procurement, whatever it is. If this system, these are the system laid down in the organization, the auditor's report will tell if your financial activity flow with this line of system, like system test. And then, whether for or against, they also have the responsibility of telling us the evidence. On what basis are you alleging that this has not been accounted for, which is audit evidence? What is audit evidence? The totality of facts, indication, signs, and testimony that an external auditor will derive in the place of trying to form an objective opinion on the true and fair view of the state of affairs of an organization, or the financial records of an organization. true and fair view, in quotes. That means his opinion might not be perfect, but his opinion is now subject to, for stakeholders, for owners of the business, for management, for even outsiders that want to invest. His opinion is vital for further investigation. Who are the stakeholders here? The government, the NNPC, and that is where the Senate comes in. Section 85, Section 88, and Section 89 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria empowers the Senate to look into the books and activities of any agencies, federal government agencies in Nigeria.
Including NNPC.
Of course, it's not exempted. And this is where the Public Account Committee derive their functional responsibility. And this they marry with the terms of reference and guidelines as provided in the Senate rules for the particular committee. And then come a particular amount, 210 trillion, in an attempt to review the audited report. Meanwhile, don't forget, this audited report has also gone through the validation of the Auditor General of the Federation.
So it is also the statutory position of the Office of the Auditor General. Yes, that 210 trillion has not been accounted for.
Has not been accounted for. And in the report, they classified it into two. What made up the 210 trillion? 103 trillion and 107 trillion. I think the 103, one of them was for accrued expenses. Do you understand? And the other one was on JV's course. In Accra accounting, what is Accra? What is accrued expenses? It's like you are going on you are going on a program outside Nigeria now. The Global TV network give you a cash advance of maybe $10,000. And right there you say you have spent $20,000. When you come and make retirement, they ought to reimburse you some amount.
Right.
And maybe they did not.
So over time, just
it accrued, it accumulates. You understand?
So again, the question is, why does the NNPC not defray those obligations?
These artists, Accra comes in different way. You said they are expenses that are be accrued. Now, prove to the auditor, because the auditor cannot just overlook that you just read to them, or you just tell them that this 103 trillion is accrued expenses,
no closure,
expenses that are accrued over the years. You understand? So that is what you when you talk of what evidence are you going to quality of an evidence in auditing, relevance, substantial. The item here, is this substantial enough, or is it not substantial enough for the auditor to overlook? Can they overlook 103 trillion with just a mere explanation that is an accrued expenses over the years between 2017 and 2020? No, that is too much. Come and let's reconcile. You were in charge of NNPC at this period. Beyond that, in the same report, there's another 14.something million pounds that was used to maintain and renovate the NNPC office in the UK that did not go through proper authorization. There was another 580 million that was directly executed, or 3.something billion that was directly executed with from the chief accountant or the financial controller, whatever, without the authorization of the group managing director. These are the system checks that has failed. I just explained to you. Right. There was no proper authorization process. So is this how come this money? So there is room for anybody to question an expenditure or a particular amount that you are explaining to me. There is no proper authorization. Do you have power to execute a project of 3.something billion when you are not? There is no evidence that the GMD of NNPC approve it. or authorize it.
But at what point does accountability and transparency come into play in all of this?
What we are saying right now is transparency, but what we are not seeing is accountability. Transparency in the sense that the books have been brought to bear. We are seeing the figures. Accountability is the question that the likes of Oshomole is asking. Come and account for this. We have not said you have stolen. Come and give us evidence that 170 trillion of this money was accrued expenses. Come and give us evidence that the other 170 trillion was disparity in JV's joint ventures dealings. You cannot say it was not documented. You cannot carry out this kind of huge expenditure over time and say there is no traceable paperwork or such document to back it up. Money has left the account. What was it utilized for? You said it was accrued expenses. Accrued expenses is a blanket word. It covers a lot. Accra of 6 years. 2017 to 2023. Accra accounting. You cannot be deferring it. It even unnecessarily raises up your balance sheet and mislead the investors, because the deferred expenditure you have not been able to account for. You deferred it as a deferred expenditure. It will belong to the asset instead of liability. It will belong to the asset until you prove it. And when it's not your asset in your balance sheet, people will say the asset of the business is very big. Not mean that money is not even there, it has been expended. Every transaction in a financial account, you have two legs. For every debit, there must be a corresponding credit. For every credit, there must be a debit. There's no way. It's two legs in accounting. So when you cannot, you are telling us one leg.
So we need to see the second leg.
Yes.
Let me ask though, for someone who is wondering like me, what does the impact of unaccounted funds, what impact does it have on national development in Nigeria?
It sells us in bad image international, especially organizations like the NNPC. It doesn't tell well. The confidence of investors in the industry, especially NNPC, the downstream sector, the upstream, the confidence they have as we're talking about a regulatory organization.
Yes.
As the regulators cannot be accountable. If the regulators cannot put their house in order, what do you expect in the industry? They are regulating. This morning, my driver was trying to pay for fuel. I discovered that for how many days now they've reduced fuel. Dangote have reduced with about 78 now. Okay. And the particular filling station since on Monday till this morning have not reflected such change.
I guess they're selling old stock. Is that not what they say?
That is for how long? That is the excuse. Do you know that information and research shows that importers, those importing foreign goods to Nigeria, are still using about 1,800 to $1 and 2,000 to $1. That particular peak during the first phase of the unification of forex deregulation, that hike when we were around that 1.8, they are still using that in their records, in their books to do their calculation, and on the long run do their costing, which they use to arrive at their total cost and now mark it up again to get profit, to get selling price.
So who loses? The government and Nigerians.
Exactly. Because you are giving misleading information deliberately for your selfish interest, and you still turn around and blame the government reform.
So what's the way forward? How do we go about to actually regularize all of this?
That's why I keep saying that the Nigerian system is not really right for free market economy. Because both the drivers and the driven in the free market economy, the drivers are supposed to regulate us. You understand? Why in the free market economy, which is the people-driven economy, force of demand and supply, those also driving the force of demand and supply are not sincere from both ends. We need to have a totally regulated economy. But unfortunately, in the world we are today, as far as you are practicing democracy, you cannot have a totally regulated economy. You can only have that when you have a policy fiat, like Abacha had. He said Naira should not be more than 20 Naira to $1.
But he does not care. Does that make economic sense?
You see, he has not gone around. He has not gone out of the economic theory. Government fiat is part of it.
So you're saying the Tinubu administration can use the same model if he wishes to?
Yeah, maybe in some critical areas. In some critical areas, you can use government fiat. Because if not, the way we are going, even when some people are still selling bag of rice at skyrocket price, mudu of rice, I saw a woman that has been selling for 3,000 since the beginning of the hike in the price when a bag was 120,000. It's still selling 3,000 per mudu till now.
And it's not old stock.
I said till now. Has it been having old stock for almost a year now?
It's possible.
She's not even qualified to have old stock because she's operating a mini whatever around my fence.
Okay.
I want us to.
And every day you see her sharing a leaflet of church. Come to our program. I even told sometimes I don't buy those. I told people this woman is hairbound. No need to patronize her.
No, let's not go.
Well, I'm not sure if I did that call. Let's come back to this issue. I mean, just more like an adventure.
Yeah. So
you talked about how that Nigeria is not. I mean, in your own assessment or by your own assessment, Nigeria is not yet ready for free market economy.
Total free market.
But that's a bit of an irony because our president, the leader of your party, favors free market economy. I mean, market forces.
No. I said like he himself agreed, and we agreed. The President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration is not driving a total free market. The Nigerian system is a mixed economy, and no president has come to drive a total free market. But you look at critical areas that cannot be handled if you want to make success. You have to free those areas.
Okay, let's come back to the issue.
You understand? So that is the issue. That is how he's driving the Nigeria system. It's not totally because it's still subsidizing fertilizer, agriculture. Is it not the same government? One way or the other, it still subsidize other critical activities of the economy.
But we also hear that there are moves now to ensure that those subsidies are suspended.
For agriculture?
Yes.
Agric-related?
So
No, there's no way you can totally remove subsidy from agriculture. Even America does not risk that.
Exactly.
Because the theory that manages the economic reality of agriculture is called the cobweb theory. You know how cobweb is. Right. It's confusing. So you cannot say 1 + 1 is equal to going to be equal to 2 for you when it concerns agriculture, because you have to get an off-taker. Most of it, we have silos all over Nigeria. Why do you have silos? The same government become an off-taker to encourage the farmers. That is subsidy on its own. They become the first buyers.
I want us to go back to the NNPC because whether you like it or not, the NNPC sits at the very point where Nigeria's economy is very concerned. So let's now talk about how that this is probably, yes, we know the reference period has to do with when Mr. Melekere was at the helms at the National Oil Company. But then we've seen in this country, under former President Goodluck Jonathan, where at that point in time, our former Minister of Petroleum Resources had a back and forth of some kind of, if you like, conflict of opinions with someone who at the time was also the GMD of the same NNPC, saying that, look, one person said NNPC was insolvent, the other person said, no, NNPC was solvent. When you have that sort of scenario, is it not a clear sign that it's been a long time coming for the NNPCL, even though the leadership period or tenure of Dr.
I just could
just decline.
Even for the issue of accountability has been issue in NNPC.
So did they delay in tackling it as a government?
Of course, there was obvious delay because even as when Goodluck was president, Goodluck came out openly to chastise the CBN governor
at the time.
That $20 billion was cannot be missing.
That it was missing. America.
So because they made it political. While the man that said it was sounding very professional and transparent, But because it was a period he was looking for election and all that, he felt he should have said this. And that was what, among other issues, led to his being asked out of the CBN.
I'm concerned about,
in all of this, what lessons do you think the public institutions can learn from these controversies surrounding financial instability and all of that?
Are they ready to learn, the public institutions? Every state in Nigeria has Office of Auditor General of the state. Every local government has Office of Auditor. And the Federation has Auditor General Federation. It is their responsibility to, at every beginning of the year, appoint, because external auditors are professional audit firms, most registered with the offices of Auditor General of the state, federal government, or wherever. You have their names, you have the company, you know their standard, you know what they can do. As an Auditor General of Federation, are you supposed to wait for 6 years before you look at the books of account of NNPC? Because it is your responsibility to recommend for the audit. When you recommend it and pressure them, they will appoint an external auditor. Or you appoint it, or you suggest it for your office for them. There are a lot of agencies of government. Even the office of Accountant General Federation need to be audited.
Interesting.
And yes, when was the last time an external audit was done on the office of Accountant General of any states?
So yes,
and that was the Federation. They are just, they are accountants. They keep the books. The auditors review the books to know if the books are well kept, following the respective financial reporting standards. If in the process you ask questions that this thing is not in line.
But again, these issues now, that's upright here.
When was the last time FAC was audited? Federal Account and Allocation Committee.
But who's supposed to make that call?
Exactly. I said Auditor General of the Federation.
So, to that extent, he has failed.
Recommended, of course. Are you telling me that FAC, as a committee that handles the allocation of Nigeria on a monthly basis for how many years, their books ought not, because they have links. There's a relationship between FAC, CBN, and Accountant General of the Federation's office. One do with rehearsing, which is one do with the accounting part, and one does with the policy sharing.
Let's talk about how.
When was the last time the same Senate decided to look at the books, the audited, because CBN need to be audited. Where is the audit report of CBN? If it was done, has it been submitted to Senate, or as the Office of Auditor General submitted it to Senate for Public Account Committee review? These are critical agencies of government. The same thing goes with states. We have AGF office. No state without a Accountant General's office.
I'm sorry, but from the way you're sounding, it's very clear that our public public finance system is in a mess.
Yeah, because most persons does not understand public finance. Do you know that a lot of persons, even in our professional fields, accounting start and end with activities of private companies and all that?
So it's beyond that.
Of course. You cannot be a robust accountant without knowledge of public finance, public sector accounting. Public finance is the one that deals directly with government accounting. It has its own procedure, everything. Then you're not talking of public sector, which deals with public corporations that are linked to government, like this NNPC and co. These are public corporations. Nigeria Railway, have we looked into that? Nigeria NPA, external audit reports, public account committee. These are critical areas, critical agencies are prosper that need to be looked. NIMASA. NNPC is just a tip of the iceberg. Airport Authority of Nigeria. Do you know how much has been alleged to have spent on the Air Nigeria project that never saw the light of the day? Is there any external?
I have thought that Mr. Jirika, I should say Mr. Hadi Sirika has been invited by the EFCC.
That is EFCC. I'm talking of an audited account report.
Again, that was a failure, institutional failure.
Of course. And this transcends to states. I'm just talking federal. It transcends to states. We have a lot of course, we have a lot of states, parastatals and agencies that have not had their books audited. Every state in the Niger Delta oil producing have their own oil producing commission, where they utilize 30% derivative. Was it not based on the audit of the for a period of time by the then President Buhari administration that revealed that the 30% derivative, some states were being shortchanged, that they have to make refunds? Now I said it on this program how much Obaseki could not even tell us how much he received from such a 30% derivation refunds.
Even after the then governor of the Rivers State challenged him and the
God bless you.
from the
God bless
region.
you. So issue of accountability is a bane in the Nigerian public system, total public system, from government to public related.
There's an aspect of this conversation we shouldn't overlook by all means, which is the fact that it's now assuming a political dimension.
Yeah, it's not.
You look at the Senate today, for example, there are people who believe that even on moral grounds, for instance, that senators are not eligible to be looking at these books, that these senators, including the Senate presidents over time, are the ones who politic over juicy committees. They are in bed in most times with these heads of these agencies and so on and so forth. So you can eat your cake and have it like this.
And it's where the poor corporate governance comes in. Let me to tell you how unserious we can be in this climate. In 2001, 2003, there were two major world financial crises that happened.
Right.
The Eros and the WorldCom. Eros Energy, the biggest energy giant in the world,
at the time,
and WorldCom, a world-class communication outfit, technology outfit. They had external auditor, the biggest external audit firm in the world then, Ato Adansi, and co-chartered accountants. When that issue happened, Ato Adansi, the owner, committed suicide. Because he has failed in his expected responsibility of being objective to fully disclose other financial reporting standard. 2, he's talking of full disclosure. It's your responsibility and as an external to disclose everything. That is why I hold this report very serious, because there is a full disclosure. They have not said 210 trillion is missing, but they are saying it's unaccounted for. So it is only when you cannot account for it that you should take responsibility for it. But right now you don't want to take any responsibility. You want the Nigerian people and Nigerians to accept that it is accrued expenses without proof, without evidence. So when that happened in America, what did the American government did? Two members, one was a Democrat, one was a House of Rep member. One name was Sabine. The Sabine was a House of Rep member. They are not in the same party. The other one was Osley. That's why they call it the Sabine-Osley Act. They came together to make it now become a law beyond a expected financial standard of accounting. That every institution in America, both public and private, must entrench the essence of corporate governance. Because most of the time, the stakeholders of these businesses and institutions, as you said, they are in bed with the management. Even some of them collect contracts. If they default in executing the project, the contract, you cannot do anything. How will you be able to investigate and challenge an institution that your company is collecting contract from, of which those contracts and most times not executed. That raises issues of corporate governance. The same thing in our banking system that wreck the banking sector in the post-Soludo era of recapitalization.
That was 2008.
Yeah, the likes of, it was SLS that recapitalized the banks 2009 when the real merger had to start. Because after the first capitalization, we were seeing the likes of Bank PHB. We saw the Intercontinental Bank, all sorts of banks were springing up. Even some were boisterous in their advert that they believe someday cars will run in water in Bank PHB. They are already thinking like that. That is the height of delusion. They believe cars will drive themselves. It was symbolic. Of course, it's symbolic to drive adverts because they were operating. We never knew they didn't have. They were not fulfilling the principle of Camel.
But they did not also address those issues, and we know what happened.
There was no corporate governance. Oceanic Bank, most of the contracts that became toxic, all the toxic assets in every bank today were debts owed by agents of the board members. Either the relations of the board members, relation of the GMD, the companies that are linked to the board members. You understand? They become toxic, and these banks become liquidated, which then gave rise to the creation of AMCO, Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria. So indirectly, what you have liberalized, you are turning back to come and recapitalize your government money that you should have used to tie roads. That's AMCON. That's what AMCON is doing.
Right.
AMCON is now to buy the debt back. Government give you the money to recapitalize your bank. You are still the private owner. The money that you ate, you and your cronies.
Is that not outright fraud?
Then they are defrauding, not outright fraud alone. They are committing crime against humanity because the fraud is against the Nigerian people. That's what I'm saying.
Now, talking about the...
It's equivalent to apartheid.
Talking about the Nigerian people, in what ways can citizens come out to demand accountability?
Because the only way is through strengthening social contracts. That is what every CSO, civil society organization, all these I call them collective nuisance. They are noise makers. We don't want this, we don't want this. It's not about the item. There is a total item miss.
Exactly, you are making impact.
No, what is the impact? You are a voice of social, what I call it, the between a voice of reasoning and a voice of necessity.
So where do you place them?
They are voice of necessity. Something necessitated them to be doing one particular thing at a particular time. Oh, they arrest this person here, unlawful arrest. You see the social media, everybody channel energy. This one happen. Nobody has. Look at the SARS debacle.
So you don't see them as trying to fight for justice and for truth?
No, fighting for justice is first of all to have a voice of reasoning. Let's look at the system. You cannot change the people. You cannot be driving for the change of those driving the system when the system has not changed. Me and you, a system is the coming together of different parts to form a whole. Me and you made up the system. You are looking for SARS. SARS is just a unit in the criminal investigation department. You can imagine, it's not even a department. It's a unit in the CID of the police. And the government, they are very smart. They will say we have ended SARS. That unit has been scrapped. The next thing you are seeing on the road. Why do you just say end police brutality, end bad governance? By the time the government have told you they have ended SARS, which they have announced officially, they've written and done everything, and they still see you on the road, then you become, they now rely on their constitutional responsibility to protect life and property. Not be only you get the road, because they've done what you said they should do. You now become emotional. Hey, this one. Why did you sit down? Look at what happened. Everybody that was sleeping, carrying a blanket and a mattress to National Assembly, talking about electoral reform. Where are they today? When I was saying it, the reform is backfiring them now. Everybody was stagnated and was fixated on the need for electronic transmission of results. How do you transmit what you have done manually? Why did you just agitate for e-voting or electronic voting? Do you understand? Because electronic voting on its own is a process. Voting starts from registration of your PVC, whereby you can now, from the comfort of your iPhone, your phone and iPad, and you can process and register to get your PVC. When the PVC is prepared, it can be delivered to your address. That's it. That is the beginning of e-voting. It's not where you are still doing manual process, you queue up, you come with your PVC, you come to register, there are different centers for registration of your PVC, you collect it, on voting day you come, they validate it. What is the role of Bermuda, whatever they call it, beavers? Right. They only activated one of its function and make it a law, put it in law. So that when you are making reference to other function, they'll tell you that one is not a law. And the only activated function is to validate your PVC, isn't it? And the next you go and queue again. They'll put ink, you begin to interpret. There's no machine, like ATM machine, you can go and say, okay, APC, PDP, whatever, you understand? You press, everybody display biometric features. Exactly. By the time you vote like that, it automatically default to a central server. No manual interference. So you cannot be driving a manual system and be agitating for electronic transmission. That's why I tell you, we lack voice of reasoning in our agitation for a better system.
So we don't derail. Let's go back to the NPC issue, which is now similarly scandalous, right? As it stands today, we see so much of bickering, just to my words, between the President of the Senate and Senator Adams Oshiomhole. Is that not a distraction from the substance of the issue?
No, it's a distraction from, because they want to make Oshiomhole look like a sacrificial lamb.
They who?
The leadership of the Senate.
Does that include the Senate President?
It's the beginning. Because Oshiomhole is a member of the committee.
Right.
So you cannot say he does not have the right to have participated or to have spoken about it.
But they said he oversteps.
What did he said? Excuse me. Yes. He was not the chairman of the PAC.
Right.
The Public Account Committee. So it does not sign the report of the committee that is submitted to the Senate. So why are you quoting him? And you, the chairman, that is called the leader of the Senate, exactly. Why are you making specific inference to Oshiomhole's observation? Did Oshiomhole say money is missing? He said wherever he recommended.
But he referred to them as thieves. Was that not overreaching?
No, he said wherever. Because remember what the NFPC CFO said, Chief Financial Officer, openly deriding and degrading the senators there, right in the committee. If a man has refused to come and account for something for over how many years, is it not under the BOJ judgment, best of judgment, you have right to call him whatever you want to call him, whatever name you want to call him.
So that justifies Oshiomhole's.
And he went for, he said in that committee, before the vociferous point where they were exchanging, where they went into heated argument, he said wherever Mele Kyari is, he should come and account. This report was submitted as an auditor to NFPC. NFPC did not act on it. Submitted to Office of Auditor General, who now validate it and submit to the PAC, Public Account Committee. This is 2026. For another 3 years, this is 2017 to 2023 audit. Is 3 years not even enough to come and clarify issues? I just told you now, beyond the 210 trillion, there are other ones. There is the 14.something million pounds that will not go through proper authorization and approval. There is 580 million that they said is sundry expenses. What is sundry expenses? These are questions. Because the professional auditor is not made to accept everything. It's made to question, you need evidence to back, because you can be arrested tomorrow. That will make a misleading report.
Was doing a shoddy job.
Of course. So the only way he can back up his claim is to say, the client gave me this is to say, this is what this stands for, this is what this stands for. And then did the PAC have the power to issue bench of warrant? No. Warrant of arrest is the responsibility of the leadership of the Senate.
Right.
Did Oshomole call for the arrest of Mele Kyari? He said in whichever way is recommended to his colleague, his Senate, where he belonged to. He did not say the PAC, the Public Account Committee, or himself. He said the Senate, in whichever way, should issue a bench warrant to bring him if he does not want to come. It's a recommendation. So while taking a responsibility, a functional work of the senator in a committee made up of other people that made input, and you single him out and you brought it to the floor of the Senate to ridicule him. And the point he raised, Jermaine, come and account for this.
But Comrade Oshomole now saying, I think I need to get accustomed to calling him Senator Oshomole, now saying that the daughter of the president of the Senate got a job in NNPC without due process.
Yeah, if.
But well, he can
because he is saying if that is the reason.
Yes.
But if the Senate leadership is refusing and is not downplaying such a report, the only person that can prove that no money is missing is Mele Kyari.
No other person that
yes. So a situation whereby the Senate president is now saying there was nothing missing. Oshomole is just raising house
in defense of
as rather. Yes. It's been unfair to the man. Do you know the backlash? What it is putting the man is selling him wrongly to people. Then the man have to fight back that if it is because they are a beneficiary directly and indirectly from the NNPC institution, that is why we are saying this, it will not work.
So my concern at this point is, does this look like something that will end very soon? It looks like it's going to stretch far beyond the beneficiary.
Going forward, all these things have ended because the first way to end it, that's why I believe in President President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration so much. That's why when it comes to this reform, he has reformed the system already. Do you know that the same NNPC used to use 30% of their revenue for themselves?
Which has now been ended.
That one alone. You now pay this money directly to the federation account. Don't touch anything. The government now made budget for you through Ministry of Petroleum and fund your expenditures.
So you cannot do that independently.
Exactly. So imagine you just collect money, only you cannot account. I discussed with somebody who works in the oil industry that these people just fly down to Escravos and other areas. They say they are from NNPC or whatever to come and check. Tell me on a daily basis, what is the system in place? How is it effective? That we're actually checking how many barrels of crude oil we are producing. They just come, they settle them, and they go away. They don't even.
No due diligence.
Of course. You see somebody, there are things we can't say on air. Because if a government worker is buying properties and living luxury life, and is supposed to be a public servant, not even an elected public officer, because you are working in NNPC or related organizations.
But now you boasted about President Bola Tinubu. Of course, that doesn't come as a surprise. But then there's the school of thought that if President Bola Tinubu, with the willpower that people like you believe he has, can't fix electricity after 3 years, something again that he had boasted about in 2023, what is then the guarantee that he can win the big stage?
First of all, maybe you are digressing into other areas.
Because these are critical areas.
I'm not disputing that. Right. I will flow with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will give you an assignment. I can sponsor the research to tell me how many megawatt electricity we're producing or generating as and when it took power, and how much we are generating today. Be that as it may, what has been in approach. When you want to evaluate somebody's performance, you create yardsticks and parameters. What has been the approach of the president? This is the only president that went beyond limits to first of all create a law to devolve power of electricity provision. There is no way you can provide electricity without that, because under the Electricity Roadmap Act of 2013, done by the Goodluck administration, distribution was totally privatized, sold to people that does not have the willpower. That is why just few months ago, you have to do an audit, external audit and review, because the GENCOs, the Generating Company of Nigeria, were saying that energy loss they have suffered because they generate, the distribution of the discos does not have the capacity to distribute.
Right.
That the federal government, not Tinubu's government, was owing them 30 trillion. What did Tinubu do? Did he pay the 30 trillion? Rather, he set up a committee to audit the claim. And their books and records were audited and discovered that it's 3.something trillion and saved the country 10 trillion.
But that issue is still a subject of
No. Even the lives of Tomilumelu, the Gerugu Power owner, they have all come out to acknowledge.
But the association has not acknowledged.
That is association. I'm talking of players.
Those players are members of the association.
No, the Nigeria Association, it's like the NSC, for example. Most members of the NSC does not even have companies and organizations that employ labor. And that is the truth.
Haruna, now,
I'm not sorry, I'm still coming on the electricity.
Okay.
Then it devolved the power further. Today, states are generating. Some states are taking advantage.
But here that's being reversed now.
No.
I mean, it's in the news today.
No, it's not. There's no reversal. That maybe the news you need to look in details, because some states already have their state electricity regulatory commission.
By way of the decentralization.
Of course, decentralization.
Right.
But that's an approach. To the extent that it has the decentralized, that you can produce all sorts of source of electricity, alternative source of electricity, even as individuals. I can own my own solar farm, register my company, I don't know, of course, and sell my solar power generated to people around my area or whichever people I want to sell to. These are the approach is putting in place to improve electricity. Even in this FCT today, there's a huge solar farm in Usman Dam, in Buhari Area Council. Today, people around that area and other investment, critical investment, has made the electricity stable there. Because most people are now disconnected from the grid. On this program, I told you of how even the Azura Power, the 480 megawatt generating capacity in Edo State, is trying to remove the plug from the national grid. They now become generators and distributors. Imagine what Edo will be in the next 30 months or 18 months with the other 100 megawatts by the CCEC company that is being built. The 3.3 megawatt that is being constructed in Okbela right now, I told you. These are all the approaches. You look at the efforts. They were asking a presidential aspirant a few days ago. Rufai was asking him, saying he should forget reform, forget reserve. For reserve is growing, forget about that. This one is doing, forget about that. 1.5 million Nigerians are benefiting from NED fund. They now have access to higher education because government is paying their school fees.
NED fund says that number now stands at 1.6 million.
Okay.
That the goal is to reach 7 million.
Exactly. Only in my state we have more than 300,000 beneficiaries. And across South. These are reforms across sector by sector. Right? I'm not talking of education. Imagine me and you had that opportunity. Do you know how many late registration I did in higher institution because I was paying school fees late? Because I was training myself. I collect my result at the beginning of the next semester. Because I want to do registration for you to collect results. Right. So if I don't pay school fees, how will I do registration? Only God knows how I was writing exams. When they are coming to this class, I will run to the other class. I want to go and urinate, carry my answer sheet. But now you have a government that you can apply. They'll pay is through your school. So nobody is giving you the money in your hand. Your own is just to have time to study. Yes, it's a drop in the ocean because we are operating a federal system. Let the state also key to create their own state net fund. Let local government create their own. So that you can really feel the impact. Because if you say this now, somebody will say 1.5 million Nigerians are tough. The particular sector that the Tinubu administration is driving this reform, is that sector totally its responsibility?
Actually, it's quite
look at the state police.
Concurrent.
Look at the state police effort now. Is that not the long-term way to curb insecurity? Look at the tax reform. They just shared 2.something trillion. Do you think your oil is providing the money? Go and get the breakdown of the sources of the 2.something trillion they just shared.
Taxation, for example.
So a lot, and in these reforms, we're not talking about the one that accrue to FAC. What of those taxes that are benefit a personal income tax that directly benefit the states, not federal government? What of the VAT that is collected and handed over to state and local government, not federal government? If the citizens know that there are some areas you need to hold your state government responsible, everybody will reduce attention on Abuja.
Haruna, let's come back to NNPCL now. What role do they play in Nigeria's economy and for national development? As you mentioned a few and said, is it your oil that has brought this and that and that? So what role do they play?
Yeah, because over time they've told us that, imagine the era of subsidy. That's why I say, do you think it's your oil? Because they were telling us we are having zero net. They will tell us that the oil that was sold, they use it to pay for subsidy. Because there's an agency within the NNPC there, that's why I say group managing director. They are called the PPPP, whatever, Petroleum Pricing Agency. They will handle the subsidy. Imagine you say for me, I say, where is the money? You say, use and settle my debt somewhere. Without my, I don't even know anything. So the role they are supposed to play, they are supposed to regulate the oil industry. Like Petrobras.
In Brazil?
Yes. Like other great corporations in China, Saudi Arabia, Aramco and Co. In Russia too. Those are working with because of their accountability. The system is always threatened. There are checks and balances. There's integrity by those who are driving the system.
Let's now use that as a medium to talk about the gap that we have in corporate governance in our public institutions in Nigeria. It will appear there's a deliberate attempt by some vested interest to maintain the status quo.
Yes.
At what point can we, if you like, break that jinx?
Until we are ready. Because in the corporate world, these are critical professional areas that most Nigerians might not understand. As we are having civil society organization checking social awareness on earth-related issue, we need some that deals on corporate issues. In the corporate world, finance and accounts of both corporate and government. Like budgeting, for example. But cannot do it all. It's just like doing sampling. Check how responsible government are using budget implementation. It goes budget implementation. It goes beyond budget implementation. What of those agencies are parastatals of government? Budget implementation just mean how to issue out what you budgeted and how you disburse it. If they now share it to the agency that's supposed to execute it, what metrics do you have in place to know if they're actually utilizing it and they're accountable for it? So we need to check that area. Look at our banking sector. How many people are aware that today that we just completed the recapitalization without noise? Unlike before. There are a lot of things we don't give kudos to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You remember the first capitalization? It was like noise. Even the commoner know that they were selling shares.
Right.
The time of the Allstate Trust Bank, Oceanic Bank, and everybody was selling shares, blah, blah, blah. Paper capitalization that was not backed with fund. And within 4 years, everything collapsed. Sanusi Lamido Sanusi exposed them, which led to the mergers. But today, it's not just about recapitalizing this bank, they categorize them so that you know where your strength belongs. You know the limit of your functional dealings.
National banks, regional banks.
God bless you. And international.
Right.
So when I want to deal on international transaction, I know the bank to go. Our monetary framework is organized perfectly well. And that is why the fiscal policy is aligning gradually. Because one drives one. But these are critical areas that Nigeria does not look at. We are still a developing country, a country where more than 90% does not think beyond stomach infrastructure.
And do we blame them for that?
That's what I'm saying. I say we are still a developing world. But we need to evolve. We cannot stand in one place. A culture, a norm, a society that cannot evolve rapidly is denounced. It's accursed. It's outdated. It's archaic. It's antediluvian.
That's a lot.
And it's unpalatable.
Well, we would like to say a big thank you to you, Haruna Ibrahim. You've done an amazing work helping us to find some context and perspectives regarding this NNPCL controversy. We'll be talking with Haruna Ibrahim. He's a member of the ruling All Progressives Congress. He's also an economic analyst, helping us make sense of these developments. And that's all we have for you here on Global Morning today. Remember that the views of all of our guests across all of our programs are their opinions. I am Uyi Agumafwewe.
Thank you once again, Haruna Ibrahim, for being a part of the program, Global Morning. Have an amazing day ahead. And from Uyi and I, we say bye-bye.
Always my pleasure.